Sunoco Special Saloons, brought to you by Powerbox, made by HP Electronics. Hello and welcome to Sunoco Special Saloons from Denmark. But this weekend, they're on a road trip to Norway's oldest asphalt race circuit. Welcome to Rudskogen Motor Centre, which is about an hour and a half's drive south of Oslo, set in a forest and in beautiful rolling countryside. It's a very demanding track.
Yeah, you have to get lots of horsepower because it's a long straight, and to get the power and to get the speed you have to maybe have 400 horsepower. So the Porsche, my car and the other car is very good at this track.
I've never driven in a track like this before, but it's like similar like the Rudskogen, like Djursland in Denmark, but it's bigger, it's most faster.
It's a great track. It's a lot longer than the tracks I'm used to race on. A very technical track, lots of corners, and especially the S's in the middle section. If you miss the apex in the first one, you lose time in both the second and the third sector of that.
There are 3 races over the weekend in each class and double points to fight for. Martin Vettel has a lead of 7 points over Hans Hartmann, and they were 1 and 2 on the start line. And it's the Corsa in the lead. But that's Stan Paulsen's Renault edging through and taking second by crossing the chicane. But several of the corners are very slippery because many of the drivers from earlier races cut the corner and sand was kicked up on the track, making it very, very difficult. Hans powering through and taking second again. Martin all going really wide and misjudging the corner, paying the price of only having 5 practice laps to get to know the circuit. The Honda now back in the lead. Paulsen is second, so Martin's mistake cost him 2 places. Whoopsie, and slipping on the sand. And Martin wasting no time in moving past Paulsen, the Norwegian from Fredrikstad. Every corner here arcs up or down, tightens or opens, so Martin has to learn these challenging corner combinations fast as he closes the gap to the leader. The original track here at Rudskogen was finished in 1990 and opened by the Belgian F1 driver Thierry Boutsen. Martin waiting for a chance to challenge the Honda, but Hans not making any mistakes, so I guess I'll have to wait for the long straight to test his Corsa speed against that of the Hondas. Now this is the long loop that leads into the straight. Stan Paulsen is third, waiting for them to make a slip, but I don't think that's going to happen. Into the 640 metre long straight, it dips in the middle, and then it's foot down and don't spare the horses. You go from a wide straight to a narrow left-hand corner with the chicane on the right, and Martin has run out of space. Hans sticking to his inside line, so Martin uses the chicane to get out of trouble and take the lead. Oh dear, but with all 4 tyres over the chicane and then not giving the lead back to Hans, he could find himself in even more trouble. But the deed is done and Mr. Hartmann is not happy. If he was English, he'd probably say, "That's not cricket, my boy." But these two have not shaken off Paulsen yet, and he's lurking in 3rd place. Hans closing on the bends with Martin pulling away on the straights. And every lap he does, he's getting more familiar with the 14 bends that make up this exceptional circuit. And that will make it harder and harder for Hartmann to find his way through. The 22-year-old has left his study books behind in Odense and is now 100% focused on the job at hand, which is stay in the lead. Hans's Honda was originally built in Italy, and he now uses Neil Brown Engineering in England as the motor supplier. .203 is Christian Weibu's BMW. He's a mechanic with his own workshop, and he comes from Bra in northern Jutland. It's his first time at Rudskogen, and he's doing well to keep the Honda of Norwegian Arfinn Johansson from Drammen behind him. It's quite expensive to make the trip up here, and some of the teams have opted to stay at home. But Niels Christiansen from Jøring, also in northern Jutland, is not one of them. His Toyota Corolla is 9th at the moment. Back on board with Martin Vedel, coming up to lap one of the tail enders, or trying to. Under the watchful eye of Hartmann, who's also ready to pounce if he doesn't get it right. So Vedel goes right, Hartmann goes left, and they're through. Someone said that the track has J-Lo proportions with extra width in all the right areas, and anyone who knows the singer and the track would probably agree. Swinging round to complete another lap, and they really are in a class of their own, with the only threat to their dominance being driver error or technical problems. It really is an interesting straight. And here you can see the 42-metre elevation difference on the straight. They have a motor festival here in September this year. Ferrari's F1 team are the guests, and I guess tickets will be in big demand. This is Bjarne Mortensen's Peugeot, not budging for Frode Egeland's Mini Cooper. Bjarne from Copenhagen, he's been in this game a long time, and he's the third best Dane at the moment. Back on board the Corsa, still with very close attention of the Honda, which has been updated to 2012 specs. But the winner of SS2 last year seems to have a firm grip on the lead at the moment. Oh, Hartmann taking a very, very wide line there and losing time in the process as they swing round to begin their final lap. And up ahead, there are more tail enders to take care of. 614 is the red Norwegian Porsche of Geir Guillebeau, and the Corsa making light work of that. Hartmann follows suit, and I think both drivers will be happy with their first encounter with the new circuit at Rudskogen. They've stayed out of trouble for most of the time. They're pretty evenly matched, and concentration has been the name of the game. Wow, that was an interesting moment for Hartmann, but there's no one in his tail, so he can quickly regroup. BMW of Christian Weibu now in 11th place, if he can hold his position. Now that's an interesting trio. Ole Niersnes, Weibu in the middle, and Christiansen's Toyota at the back. Weibu and Niersnes both well into the chicane, while Niels stays on track, taking the right line and easing in front. That's good driving from Niels. Here's that corner again. Niersnes punching through on the inside, but he's too fast, kicks up a lot of sand, pushes Weibu into the chicane, and then allows Christiansen to take his place. And Martin has no intention of letting Hans take his place as he swings into the long loop and aims for the checkered flag. But I'm sure Hans will make a protest, and he crosses the line in second place. Martin delighted with his victory. I wonder if the officials were equally as happy. Nope, apparently not. Hartmann was declared the winner, Vedel second, Bjarne Mortensen third, and Niels Christiansen fourth. Let's talk to the drivers now.
I feel that we was nearly close to each other, so it was a fair race. If he had been, let's say, 200-300 meters in front of me, okay, he was the fastest man, but I don't feel him being the fastest. So then I meant, okay, I've never protested before, but okay, this was not right what he did.
And he didn't leave enough room for me when I was entering the corner, so I had to go a bit wide, and I got on the wrong side of the track. But that was mainly just to avoid a collision between us. But unfortunately, you're not allowed to exit the track like that, and I got a penalty for that.
And it's time for us now to look at race 3 from the same class. And again, it's Martin Vedel and Hans Hartmann who are 1 and 2 into the first bend, followed by the black and white Peugeot of Bjarne Mortensen in third. There are 26 to the start, and it looks like all are safely away and round the first bend. 1 and 2 In race 2, Martin made sure he stayed the correct side of the chicane and in front of Hans and took a well-deserved victory, with Mortensen third. So it's been a good weekend for the student from Odense, who has to fly home immediately after this race because he's got more exams on Monday. A young man with his priorities in the right place. Hans told me he's made some changes to his setup for this final race, and he's certainly sticking to Martin's tail. Hans had a big crash at Ring Djursland in 2010, and the Honda was a near total write-off. But they redesigned and rebuilt it. Took more than 500 hours, but it's giving the Corsa a good run for its money today. The chassis was lightened and strengthened and weighs 1130 kilos with the driver, which is significantly more than Martin's Corsa. When I heard it on the straight, I wondered why my Corsa at home didn't sound like that, but the Honda engine at least explains some of it. In 2006, the Norwegian government selected Rudskogen as the national motorsport facility. F1 track designer Herman Tilke extended it to 3.2 kilometers long and made it technically very demanding for the drivers. To do that, they had to cut through forests and blast through rock, but the end result is amazing. Braking downhill at 250, 270-degree turns that seem to go on forever, and braking uphill at the end of the straight are just some of the challenges they face, and they've met them well. All the drivers I've spoken with are full of praise for the track, which is pretty unique. This is the new part of the circuit, and Mr. Tilke has done a good job. Martin and Hans are light years ahead of the rest of the field, underlining their dominance in this class. And coming round now for the final lap. Hans keeping Martin under pressure all the time, hoping he'll leave an opening. But the 22-year-old knows the circuit and he's not making the mistakes he did in race 1. Swinging round the final bend, half a second between them. Here they come, and taking the checkered flag for his second victory of the weekend. A job well done. Now this will have increased his lead at the top of the Sunoco Special Saloons Group 2, and he accepts the congratulations back in the pits. Hans Hartmann was a close second, and another good drive from Bjarne Mortensen to finish third.
It was an amazing race. I had a really hard fight with Hartmann. He was right on my tail all the time, and I really had to push on. He was incredibly fast this time.
This time I had better speed. We changed the camber front. It helps us a lot. We should have done that before, but that's the way racing is. So good, fair race.
It's a Ferrari 458 challenge, and it's a 5.8 liters motor with 570 horsepower. And it's a very fast car, and it's go on the paddle shift is easy to drive, and there's some Mantino on it to help me to get the car in difficult positions on the track. We have just drive 2 races, and we have about 5 test days. So it's a new car we bought to the 2020 season here this year, and so we have to learn the car. So yes, it's performed good.
Up here we have very good speed in the car. We have got some new exhaust headers on the new engine, and it really gives some power in the high RPM area, and it's very good, especially on this track here. So and also the setup of the car, it just really good.
Now it's time for the big boys to show what they can do, and quite clearly Christer Gislerud and his Stealth is favourite, topping the qualification times and setting a new track record. But the encouraging thing was that Christian Siepmann and his BMW was second fastest, while last year's overall champion Jørn Hansen was only 13th fastest qualifier. And right from the start, it's Gislerud and Siepmann who've taken the top 2 slots. The Stealth's main competition should have come from Klaus Christensen's Aquila, but when Klaus arrived, he had problems with the new engine. He tried everything and then had to admit that the Aquila would not race, much to everyone's disappointment. And already the Stealth has opened up a big gap to Siepmann's BMW, who before today's event had a 1-point lead over Jørn Hansen's Porsche. Gislerud won all 3 races in the first round at Ring Djursland, and he's odds-on favourite to do the same again this weekend. The young Norwegian from Oslo in about his 9th race with the Stealth, and each time he drives he gets more confident, which is bad news for the others, but the BMW's keeping him company. There are 10 Danes in this field of 29, and 403 is the red Fiat of Johannes Graversen, very experienced driver who won this class back in 1987, and he's really looking forward to getting to know this track. Gislerud started racing when he was 9 in go-karts, and attached to this facility is a 1.2 kilometre long karting track where a round of the European Karting Championships has already been held. Then it's foot down, touching 250 and braking left. That's a nice challenge. 401 is Jørn Hansen's Porsche. Tells me he's been to Norway once before. That was 60 years ago on a holiday with his parents. He's taking a while to learn the track and is in 8th place at the moment. Old Graversen's got company. 141 is Tore Johansen, a 49-year-old Norwegian from Sandefjord with his LS7 Chevy. 2 Danish Ferraris. 405 is Preben Gundvig with the yellow 411 Rennie Rasmussen from Fredrikssund, who nips through on the inside. It's only the 2nd event that Preben's driven his Ferrari and the first time in Rudskogen, so many things to take into account and get used to. And as long as he continues to improve his times, he'll be happy. This is Andreas Kjærgaard from Esbjerg in southern Denmark with his Scotty, which is a Belgian prototype developed in 2011. It's his 2nd year with the car, and he tells me he's got a passion for techniques and makes everything himself. 2nd place Siepmann feels very at home on this track, and his confidence is showing today. But he just doesn't have the power to match the Stealth prototype, which has already amassed an enormous lead, as you can see here. There we are. There are 3 asphalt racing circuits in Norway. The Arctic Circle Raceway, which was opened in '95 and cost $10 million to build, and is the furthest north racetrack in the world. There's a smaller circuit at Valur, and then there's Rudskogen, which can be used 8 weeks longer a year than the other circuits because of its more southerly location. Christer beginning to lap some of the slower cars, and it's here he needs to be especially watchful. His big black car and the back track can surprise some of them. Oh, that's Christian Nilsson's Corvette having a moment. Christian from near Stavanger was 3rd fastest qualifier, but certainly having his problems in this heat. And lucky no one was following too closely. The Ferrari of Preben Gundvig taking a wider line into the corner under the close attention of the Norwegian Fredrik Fjeld in his Chevy. 401 is Jørn Hansen, now 7th overall, with Mariusfeld breathing down his exhaust, taking him on the inside. But he's still the 2nd best Dane in this race. Andreas Kjærgaard, his Scotty had problems in the first race at Ring Djursland, but he seemed to be trouble-free at the moment. And on his final lap, he's the 7th best Dane. I'm sure all the Danish drivers will be happy to have got this 2nd race under their belts. You know, when you go to a new track, and especially Rudskogen, you have to get to know all the right lines and dial in the braking points. They were all up for the challenge, and they've acquitted themselves really well. Christer Gislerud on his way round to the checkered flag, done all that was expected of him on his home track, with Christian Siepmann delighted at the performance of his BMW and taking 2nd. Okay, let's look at the result. Christian Siepmann was 2nd, and of the Danes, Jørn Hansen was 3rd and Johannes Graversen 4th. That was almost the perfect race.
Yeah, it was. I had a good grip from the start and everything went perfect, so it couldn't got any better.
Yeah, Krista has another car. We are not in the same class. He's very fast. It's his home track. He was born here, I think.
So this is the third and final race from Rudskogen. The Stealth has pole, Seatman on the third row of the grid, and squeezing his way through Otterson's Jaguar on the inside and Nielsen's Corvette. But Nielsen fights back to take fourth, with Seatman having to settle into fifth. The Porsche Vidar Frogner is in second place. Another Porsche with Roger Hermansen is third. There's 27 to the start, from prototypes to Ferraris, Chevys, Porsches, and there's even a Jaguar and a Dodge, which makes for a very varied and colourful field. Seatman comes from Denmark's second largest city, Aarhus, where he has his own cleaning company with a staff of over 60. At the beginning of the season he bought a new engine from Holland, and it's doing him proud here today. After the first round he was 1 point ahead of Johan Hansen in the points table, and with double points here in Norway he should extend that lead. But ahead of him is Roger Hermansen, and he's not making any mistakes. Roger's 38 and been driving for 13 years. For a living he buys and develops land. Christer Gislerud on his way to making it 6 wins out of 6, an impressive start for the season. The young Norwegian has really done the business, and let's hope there's more competition for him in the next round at Padborg Park in southern Jutland. Nielsen is now third. He crashed badly in the first race on Friday, but he worked on the repairs overnight and now he's third, as Seatman tries to take Hermansen, but the Porsche keeping him in fifth place. The Stealth won race 1 on Friday, Seatman was second, and now Christer is cruising his way around the last few laps. Must be difficult to maintain his 100% concentration when there's no one really mounting a challenge. It's still Vidar Frogner second. He's a refrigeration and ventilation consultant in his own company when he's not driving his Porsche. Nielsen is in second place with Hermansen fourth and Christian Seatman fifth. I think Christian's only hope of advancing is if any of those ahead of him make a mistake, and he'll be there ready to pick up the pieces. Christer alone out in front. There are 2 laps to go and it's becoming something of a procession. They all seem to be happy with what they've got and trying to maintain their positions. Of the Danish contingent, all of them seem to have enjoyed their first visit to what someone called a dizzying Big Dipper of a circuit. Some have taken longer to get to know the track than others, but all have agreed that it's technically very demanding and all have enjoyed the challenge. The Scotty passing Preben Grundvig's Ferrari, and it looks like Jonas Siersen's Toyota will do the same. Johan Hansen is the third best Dane in this final race, where the lead stays the same at the front. So Christer Gislerud makes it 6 out of 6 and could look back on a job well done. Seatman was the best Dane, followed by Hansen, Graversen and Grundvig.
Something went wrong with my engine. Every lamp blink flashed, so I can only turn it to 5,000 RPM. So I'm not lucky as the car is still going.
Well, that's it from Norway. Hope you've enjoyed the Sunoco Special Saloons. We'll be back with the next round from Padborg Park next month. This is Roger England saying bye for now. Sunoco Special Saloons, brought to you by Powerbox, made by HP Electronics.